When Andrew woke up again, the world rose slowly from the deep sea. The first thing that came to my ears was the soft sound of dripping, ticking, ticking, as if time itself was flowing slowly in the silence of the ward. The smell of disinfectant water pierced into the nasal cavity, cold and relentless, like some invisible hand that woke him up. He was still alive, but not intact. When he opened his eyes, the ceiling was pale and the light was falling from the fluorescent light frame and fainting white. It took him several seconds to realize that his hands were wrapped in layers of gauze, and his fingertips could not even bend. His chest was tied up by a fixed plate, and every breath was like a sinking wood. The left leg was set up, and the metal buckle of the sling shook gently in the air. "You are awake." The sound came from the right side, as if from some distant place to his ear, not gentle, not caring, just like a routine notice. Andrew turned his head. On a hard plastic chair beside the bed sat a woman. He knew her well. Carla, his wife. Her posture was straight, her back straight, her arms folded over her chest, like a late subordinate waiting in a conference room. Her gaze fell on the phone, and her thumb moved noticeably faster than she looked up at him. Andrew stared at her. He thought he'd wake up with her nervous eyes, red and swollen crying marks, or at least a quick, "You're finally awake." But Carla just glanced at him and repeated, almost politely, "You're awake." Then continued to brush the message with a low head. He is silent. The chest cannot breathe deeply because of the fixed plate, but the feeling of tightness in the heart spreads unchecked. "When did you come?" he finally asked. "Last night." Carla said, "The doctor told me that you woke up twice and fainted, so I came to the hospital. By the way, my brother-in-law was also checking up around here. I watched the children for them, so I couldn't get to the ward at the first time." Her tone was flat, without any hint of guilt or explanation. She just stated things as if they had no effect on her sense of responsibility. Andrew closed his eyes. The dull pain in the chest is not a trauma, but a place that is more difficult to heal than a cut. The air between the two seemed frozen. Half a minute later, Carla suddenly got up and flung her coat on her arm. "Since you are awake, that's right. I'll take you somewhere." Andrew frowned. "Where?" "Give my brother-in-law a blood transfusion." This sentence is too abrupt, like someone throwing a piece of red-hot iron into still water. Andrew thought he had misheard. But Carla had gone to the end of the bed and began to adjust the height of the sling, acting as if she were carrying an object that could not speak. "You? Say what?" He struggled with his voice. "Your brother-in-law arranged surgery this morning," Carla said. "His blood type is rare and he can't find enough stock to match it temporarily. I asked the doctor, although you are injured, the value is stable, you can donate some. Just not too much." Andrew's eyes lost focus for a moment. He just woke up in the hospital injured, and the first thing she said was not to ask him if he was in pain, if he wanted to eat, or if he was afraid. Instead, he was asked to have a blood transfusion. To her brother-in-law. "Cara, I can't even get out of bed now." He tried to keep his tone calm. "Have you seen my leg? See this strap on me? The doctor just said I should at least, I know." Carla interrupted him. "But you have to help the family. Your brother-in-law is one of our own. You can't stand idly." "I just got off the operating table." Andrew lowered his voice, as if to grasp the final reality, "I can't even walk. The hospital has wheelchairs." Her voice was almost calm. "The nurse will help. All you have to do is give the blood out." At that moment, Andrew wondered if he was still in the hallucinations after the operation. But Carla's expression was so real and so motionless that he had to face it. She really thought so. That cold reality made him feel like he had been hit in the chest with a heavy stick. The nurse knocked on the door, interrupting the silence between the two men. "Is the patient awake?" "We're going to do a routine check." Before she finished speaking, she noticed that Carla was trying to lift Andrew from the hospital bed, and her brow immediately wrinkled. "Madam, the state of the patient is not suitable for movement. At least not today. He must go." Carla's tone was impatient. "We are waiting for blood at home." The nurse showed a very professional but obvious expression of rejection. Even if blood is needed, his vital signs must be evaluated first. You can't take a patient without permission. Carla's lip line was tight, as if she had finally met someone who made her feel resistance. Andrew suddenly felt a desolate exhaustion in his chest. He whispered, "Cara, can you at least ask me if I would like?" Carla was stunned for half a second, and the short pause seemed to reveal some long-neglected fact, something she had never cared about. She opened her mouth, but failed to say a gentle word, only 2 words, "Stop it." It was these 2 words that made Andrew sink completely. "I'm not making a scene," he said, "I'm just hurt. His voice was as dumb as sand. "I just need to be cared for, too." The air quieted down. Carla's expression was not soft, but more cold. "I have been to the hospital for the night," she said. "I've done my duty. You're going for a blood transfusion now. It's for our family. I'm not doing it for myself." Andrew did not speak again. He suddenly realized something. In her eyes, he was not the injured husband, nor the person she wanted to protect. It's just an available resource. Some kind of deep rift quietly widened. "I'll tell the doctor that you need to rest," the nurse whispered, as if perceiving the dignity that the man was trying to maintain. Carla grabbed Andrew's wrist and forced him to frown. "Don't forget, you promised to take care of our family. Now is the time." He froze. That word. He did say that on their wedding day. But in the years of bland and tedious, that sentence became the proof that she could ask him to pay at any time. And his injuries, his emotions, his pain, it never seemed to matter in her world. The nurse couldn't help but say, "You're forcing him." Carla looked at her coldly. "This is our family's business." That tone, like the outside world, all isolated. For the first time Andrew realized, the most painful thing when you wake up is not the stitched wounds. It's this guy in front of me. The nurse eventually brought in the doctor on duty. After examining Andrew, the doctor made a definite conclusion: no. The patient's hemoglobin is low and his body temperature is unstable. Any blood drawing may lead to fainting or shock. You need blood transfusion and go to the hospital blood bank to coordinate. Don't embarrass the patient anymore. Carla was silent for a long time, her face very bad. She turned to look at Andrew. "You really can't even give a little?" He looked at her, not knowing whether to laugh or to suffer. "I'm really going to have an accident." "That's good." Her voice was like a frozen lake. "I'll figure it out myself." Then she turned and slammed the door. There's no turning back. There is no, "You have to heal." There is no, "I'll see you tomorrow." Nothing. Only the air got colder after she left. Andrew lay in his hospital bed, the ceiling still so white and the lights still dazzling. But suddenly, he felt as if he was placed in a space narrower and cooler than a ward. It was an invisible house. It's called marriage. The walls and floor were full of cracks, but he hadn't seen them clearly in the past. Now, he finally saw with his own eyes how the first rift appeared. And the crack doesn't stop here. It's just the beginning. The air on the day of discharge was cold in late winter. The grey clouds were so low in the sky that the whole city seemed to be covered in a cold pot, stuffy and without temperature. Andrew slowly got into the wheelchair with the help of the nurse, the leg plate still preventing him from bending his body too deep. Every movement involved a wound, but he was used to it. What really made his chest tighten was the figure of Carla standing at the exit of the corridor. She was wearing a dark green trench coat, her arms in her hands, and her face could not see the superfluous emotions. It seems that instead of picking up a husband who was injured and discharged from the hospital, he came to pick up a repaired item. The nurse warned softly, "Be careful on the road, ring the bell to call us at any time if necessary." Andrew nodded, "Thank you." The nurse pushed him towards Carla. He wanted to say, "Keep you waiting," but when he saw Carla's face without any fluctuation, he took it back. Carla just nodded faintly, like completing a transactional meeting. "Let's go." The wind outside the hospital was blowing in the face, with a bit of a knife-like chill. Andrew tried to take a deep breath, but was blocked by the chest-fixing plate. the sense of restrained suffocation that made him subconsciously frown lightly. Carla noticed, but only said, "Don't frown. You look more seriously injured like this." Andrew's heart jolted. What she said is not distressed, but appearance. The distance between them is not far, but it seems to be across the whole road. On the way home, the car was quiet. City streetscapes pass by from car windows, zebra crossings, street lights, grey floors, and hurried pedestrians. Every picture was so familiar, yet strangely strange to him. Andrew sideways his head and looks at Carla in the driver's seat. She didn't say a word about his injuries, his emotions, his recovery plans. Just wearing headphones, one while listening to the voice click on the new message from her sister. When she spoke, she did not look up. "You leave hospital these days, try not to move. I have to go to my sister's house this afternoon. Can you do it at home?" Andrew was silent for a few seconds. "I'll try." Kara frowned slightly. "You said try your best? What do you mean?" "I can't move my legs, I may need." Andrew struggled to organize the language. "Some help." Carla finally looked up at him, but not with concern, but with irritation. "I've been very busy recently. You are not a child either. You can't count on me for everything." He lowered his eyes slightly. Yesterday, in order to let him give her brother-in-law blood transfusion, she is a different tone, but now, for his recovery, she can't even say, "I can help you." It turns out that busy only works for some people. "I'll try to do it myself," he whispered. "That's good." Carla put her headphones back on and continued to listen to the message. The car was quiet again. But that's not calm, it's suffocation. Half an hour later, the car stopped in front of their house. It was a two-story hut with white walls and blue windows. It looked fresh, but it was a little tired because no one took care of it. The wind chimes at the door rang softly, making a crisp metallic sound. Andrew was simply helped out of the car by Carla. The moment he landed, there was a stinging pain in his leg that forced him to hold the door. Carla glanced at him. "Why are you so empty? The wound is not good." His voice was a little hoarse. "The doctor said it would take time." Carla didn't answer, just turned to open the door. She pushed open the door cleanly without pausing or waiting, as if she had entered the door herself, not a seriously injured patient who had just returned from the hospital. Andrew could only slow to follow. The air in the house is somewhat cold. It may be that no one lives these days, which makes the temperature lose quickly. The sofa in the living room still has the coat that Carla left behind when she left home last time. There are some unfinished drink bottles scattered on the tea table. There are some unwashed bowls in the kitchen sink. All this means one thing: the house didn't wait for him to return. As Andrew slowly sat down on the sofa, Carla had already placed the bag on the dining table. She moved skillfully to organize things, while saying, "I'll leave in about 2 hours. If you are hungry, there are still things I bought last week in the refrigerator, you can make them yourself." "Last week?" Andrew frowned. "It should be broken." Carla stopped and said without looking back, "Then you order takeout." "There is no, do you want me to help you prepare something to eat?" "There is no, what do you eat now?" "Only, find your own way." Andrew felt the pain in his chest begin to spread again. He tried to keep his voice steady. "Carla, there's something I want to tell you." Carla turned her head, her expression still calm. "Go ahead." "Yesterday," Andrew took a deep breath, "It's really hard in my heart." "What's the matter?" "You asked me to give your brother-in-law a blood transfusion," he said very softly. "I was having trouble sitting up." Kara frowned immediately. "Why do you want to mention this now?" "Because it made me feel." His voice seemed to be pressed deep in his chest. "You don't care about my injury." Kara's face cooled down. "I don't care. I stayed with the hospital all night yesterday, but now you treat me like a bad person." Andrew opened his mouth, not knowing where to explain it. Accompanying the night, in fact, it is for her sister's family to take the children by the way. She paid little real attention to him personally. "I just wish you could ask me about my situation." Andrew whispered. Even a word. Carla was silent for a moment, then her voice became sharp. Andrew, it's you who are hurt, not me. What you need now is therapy, not emotion. I have done my duty as a spouse. I can't spend all my time on you. I have my own life. She paused. You don't want to be too dramatic. This sentence like a knife silently inserted into his heart. Andrew suddenly felt powerless to explain again. Because they don't disagree, they are not on the same line. I will take care of myself. He finally whispered. That's good. Carla looked away and picked up the bag to organize the things to take to her sister's house. Andrew on the sofa sat quietly, the sun shining through the window and falling on his arm, but it could not bring a little temperature. He suddenly realized, you are not going home yourself. He just went back to a house with his own name. And that really belongs to his home, as early as the realization of Carla's first sentence of indifference has broken a corner. The cracks are widening. He heard the silent sound as it expanded, like a subtle fall of dust, which no one else could hear, but he alone could hear it clearly. The voice told him, things don't stop here. After Carla left, the house fell back into an empty silence. Not that relaxing tranquility, but a kind of silence like the deep sea. The sofa sank Andrew's body, his legs fixed and his chest restrained, unable to relax even to breathe. He looked around the house, the white walls, the dark grey floor tiles, the simple furniture, all the objects still not like in life, but like displayed in a display space. There is no home temperature. There is only a residential function. He leaned back to the sofa and closed his eyes. The intention is to give myself a little rest, but the picture in my mind automatically emerges, the cold lights of the hospital. Carla's side face is illuminated by the phone screen, the tone of her voice when she said, stop it, and the more poignant, you don't want to be too dramatic. That sentence is like a fine knife, repeatedly gently scratched in the heart. There is no blood, but it makes people cold. I don't know how long it took, but the phone shook. Andrew opened his eyes and looked at the screen. It's news from Carla. Remember to eat something. Don't go on an empty stomach. He froze for a few seconds. If it were a strange and cold reminder, he might not feel anything. But because it came from Carla, a woman who had just made a cold remark to him at home and turned to his sister's house to be busy, he didn't know how to react. This message is not concerned. More like some kind of duty reminder. It's like a person completing a task item on a form. Andrew stared at the news for a long time, and finally only returned 3 words, I know. He didn't tell her he couldn't actually move. Nor did she tell her that it was difficult to even stand. Because he knows it's no use talking. The light in the room changes slowly with time. The afternoon sun passed through the clouds, bringing a touch of warmth to the grey house, but it could not make the air relaxed. Andrew tried to stand up, which took him nearly a minute. He grabbed the armrest of the sofa and slowly propped up his body. Every movement involved the wound and made him pale. But he still insisted. Because he can't just sit. He couldn't keep his mind pinned down by those words. He held the wall and moved step by step to the kitchen. There are indeed some leftovers from last week in the refrigerator. The solidified soup and discolored vegetables in the plastic box make people know at a glance that they can't eat any more. He closed the refrigerator and sighed slightly. Can only order takeout. But just as he was about to take his cell phone, a slight dizziness hit. It was like an undercurrent suddenly drained his strength from his chest. He instinctively grabbed the edge of the table and steadied himself. Inhale deeply. Breathe out again. The doctor said that he is now ischemic and weak, and any slight activity may cause dizziness. But in order to eat, he must hold on. Andrew stood quietly until the dizziness subsided. Then he slowly sat down in the chair and ordered takeout. The process of ordering is simple and mechanical. He chose the most easily accessible porridge. When it was served, he went to open the door, and once again he was involved in his chest due to excessive movements, frowning in pain. The takeaway man saw his fixed plate and said in surprise, "Sir, are you all right? Can I help you put things in?" Andrew was stunned for an instant. A stranger can feel his difficulties. He shook his head. I can. Thank you. The takeaway man nodded and turned away. The door closed gently behind him. The house was silent again. The porridge was warm, but it could not change the chill in his heart. He ate slowly, pausing at almost every mouth. In the long silence he realized for the first time how alone you are in this relationship. Not that kind of contradictory loneliness, but the loneliness of no one really sees him. Those small details that are ignored in daily life, the feeling of being held down by tone, the need to be covered by responsibility. A little accumulated into the wall. The wall was now so high that he could not see his head. Halfway through the meal, the phone rang again. It's still Carla. What are you doing? There was no temperature in the news, and no urgency in it. It's like she checks the status of something casually. Andrew looked at the screen and for the first time felt a strange exhaustion, not to explain anything, but to continue to maintain a look all right image. He typed, dinner. Kara's reply was quick, I may have to spend the night at my sister's house. You rest first. He was not asked how he felt. It was not considered whether he needed someone to take care of him just discharged from the hospital. There's not even a single, can you do it alone? Notifications only. Andrew stared at the message, his fingertips pausing on the screen for a long, long time. His final reply, okay. Cursor blinks like some kind of quiet mockery. The night soon poured into the room from the window. Andrew lay back on the sofa and gently turned down the light. The room was so quiet that I could hear my own breathing. He had thought that quiet could make people rest, but now, the silence was like a boundless emptiness, covering his whole person. He suddenly realized, this house, if not hurt, should be warm. But at the moment, it was colder than the ward. Because at least in the ward, there are nurses who will ask, are you in pain? And here, no one would ask him a question. He sat on the sofa with his eyes open, listening to the bells on the wall beating for seconds. For the first time, he truly felt that he was not a partner in this marriage. He's just the one who won't be prioritized. The cracks in the wall continue to expand silently. He can hear. It's just that Carla can't hear. The city has a distinctive grey color at night. The street lamp spilled down from the sky, soft after passing through the light fog, but unable to illuminate the road too far. As Carla stood in the doorway of her sister's house, the light at her feet pulled her shadow long. She rang the doorbell. The door opened immediately. You've come. The door was opened by her sister, Sang Ni, with a tired smile on her face. My parents are resting upstairs. My brother-in-law is more stable than in the morning. Come in. Carla nodded and stepped into the house. Compared with her and Andrew's home, her sister's house is very lively. The lights are bright, there are residual plates on the dining table, children's toys are scattered on the ground, and the air is warm after cooking. The breath of life fills them. Sang Ni noticed the deeply depressed tiredness at the first sight of her. You? Another fight with Andrew? No. Carla took off her coat. It's just that he's a little heavy. He has just been injured, so you have to be considerate. Carla paused, not speaking. The living room of my sister's house was crowded with relatives. Someone was whispering about the operation, someone was comforting the child, someone was busy cleaning the kitchen. Everything is working closely. Only Carla, still in the chaos. She suddenly realized everyone here is paying for something. She is the most stable of them. She took a deep breath and headed to the kitchen to help with the dishes. Sang Ni followed in and asked in a low voice, should you? Did Andrew really get a blood transfusion? Carla's fingers froze for half a second. I asked the doctor. The doctor said he could give a little. Sang Ni frowned, but he is injured, how can you? Carla put down the bowl, finally showing a hint of emotion, I don't know what else to do. The hospital said that the blood bank could not be turned over, and my brother-in-law was about to have an operation. My mother's eyes were red with tears, and my father sat outside the emergency room without saying a word. You know how I felt? At that time, there was only one thought in my mind anyway, I must find a way. Her voice was low, but it was like a hidden pressure. Sunny patted her arm. But you can't be that hard on Andrew. He just woke up, what you said is a bit heavy. Carla was silent. Do you know? When I got home from the hospital, he didn't even make a meal. Nothing was prepared. Carla sipped her lips. I'm already very tired, He doesn't care about his feelings. Sang and I sighed, Kara, you can't turn the burden on your family into expectation for him. He is not omnipotent. He never told me how much it hurt. Carla whispered. It's not that I don't care. I just want everything to move forward. I don't want to carry everyone's weight anymore. Sunny looked at her quietly. A long time before whispering, have you considered it? Maybe he is too. Kara was stunned. The words of her sister fell in her heart, but they did not take root immediately. Her mind is still confused, the pressure of the hospital, the anxiety of her family, her brother-in-law's illness, everyone's expectations, and her own never-uttered fears. She didn't mean to be cold. Just too tired. Too tired to be soft. Tired to use hard as the only weapon. It was late at night. Relatives are leaving. Sunny came down from the upstairs and said, Mom and Dad are asleep. You can rest here. Carla nodded, but took out her phone. The moment the screen lights up, her eyes move visibly. Andrew sent her a message. Okay. A short word, but she cannot ignore. Not submissive. Nor is it coquetry. And like a tired concession. Sunny approached and glanced at the news along her line of sight. She whispered, have you really never been gentle with him? Carla's hand on the phone tightened. Her throat seemed to be blocked by something. I don't know how to be gentle. She's not cold-blooded. Just clumsy. It's not that she doesn't care. Just won't express. She didn't want to get close. Just the fear of being dependent on someone else. All this, she never said to Andrew. And he never asked. A wall of silence, both of them are building. But they all think they are alone. Sang and I didn't ask any more questions, but patted her on the shoulder, go and rest. When you are all calmed down, speak slowly. Carla nodded. But when she turned to the guest room, there was a faint swelling in her chest. It's not guilt, it's not regret. It was a premonition that she was losing something, but she still couldn't grasp it. She did not know when the rift appeared. I don't know if it can be made up. But she knew one thing, tomorrow will be no easier than today. Carla put down the bowl, finally showing a hint of emotion. I don't know what else to do. The hospital said that the blood bank could not be turned over, and my brother-in-law was about to have an operation. My mother's eyes were red with tears, and my father sat outside the emergency room without saying a word. You know how I felt? At that time, there was only one thought in my mind anyway, I must find a way. Her voice was low, but it was like a hidden pressure. Sunny patted her arm. But you can't be that hard on Andrew. He just woke up, what you said is a bit heavy. Carla was silent. Do you know? When I got home from the hospital, he didn't even make a meal. Nothing was prepared. Carla sipped her lips. I'm already very tired, He doesn't care about his feelings. Sang and I sighed, Kara, you can't turn the burden on your family into expectation for him. He is not omnipotent. He never told me how much it hurt. Carla whispered. It's not that I don't care. I just want everything to move forward. I don't want to carry everyone's weight anymore. Sunny looked at her quietly. A long time before whispering, have you considered it? Maybe he is too. Kara was stunned. The words of her sister fell in her heart, but they did not take root immediately. Her mind is still confused, the pressure of the hospital, the anxiety of her family, her brother-in-law's illness, everyone's expectations, and her own never-uttered fears. She didn't mean to be cold. Just so tired. Too tired to be soft. Too tired to use hard as the only weapon. It was late at night. Relatives are leaving. Sonny came down from the upstairs and said, "Mom and Dad are asleep. You can rest here." Carla nodded, but took out her phone. The moment the screen lights up, her eyes move visibly. Andrew sent her a message. "Okay." A short word, but she cannot ignore. Not submissive. Nor is it coquetry. And like a tired concession. Sonny approached and glanced at the news along her line of sight. She whispered, "Have you really never been gentle with him?" Carla's hand on the phone tightened. Her throat seemed to be blocked by something. I don't know how to be gentle. She's not cold-blooded. Just clumsy. It's not that she doesn't care. Just won't express. She didn't want to get close. Just the fear of being dependent on someone else. All this, she never said to Andrew. And he never asked. A wall of silence, both of them are building. But they all think that only their own lonely. Sang and I didn't ask any more questions, but patted her on the shoulder. "Go and rest. When you are all calmed down, speak slowly." Carla nodded. But when she turned to the guest room, there was a faint swelling in her chest. It's not guilt, it's not regret. It was a premonition that she was losing something, but she still couldn't grasp it. She did not know when the rift appeared. I don't know if it can be replaced. But she knew one thing: tomorrow will be no easier than today. Carla put down the bowl, finally showing a hint of emotion. "I don't know what else to do. The hospital said that the blood bank could not be turned over, and my brother-in-law was about to have an operation." My mother's eyes were red with tears, and my father sat outside the emergency room without saying a word. You know how I felt? At that time, there was only one thought in my mind anyway: I must find a way. Her voice was low, but it was like a hidden pressure. Sonny patted her arm. "But you can't be that hard on Andrew. He just woke up. What you said is a bit heavy." Carla was silent. "Do you know? When I got home from the hospital, he didn't even make a meal. Nothing was prepared." Carla sipped her lips. "I'm already very tired, He doesn't care about his feelings." Sang and I sighed. "Cara, you can't turn the burden on your family into expectation for him. He is not omnipotent. He never told me how much it hurt." Carla whispered. "It's not that I don't care. I just want everything to move forward. I don't want to carry everyone's weight anymore." Sonny looked at her quietly. A long time before whispering, "Have you considered it? Maybe he is too." Cara was stunned. The words of her sister fell in her heart, but they did not take root immediately. Her mind is still confused: the pressure of the hospital, the anxiety of her family, her brother-in-law's illness, everyone's expectations, and her own never-uttered fears. She didn't mean to be cold. Just too tired. Too tired to be soft. Tired to use hard as the only weapon. It was late at night. Relatives are leaving. Sonny came down from the upstairs and said, "Mom and Dad are asleep. You can rest here." Carla nodded, but took out her phone. The moment the screen lights up, her eyes move visibly. Andrew sent her a message. "Okay." A short word, but she cannot ignore. Not submissive. Nor is it coquetry. And like a tired concession. Sonny approached and glanced at the news along her line of sight. She whispered, "Have you really never been gentle with him?" Carla's hand on the phone tightened. Her throat seemed to be blocked by something. I don't know how to be gentle. She's not cold-blooded. Just clumsy. It's not that she doesn't care. Just won't express. She didn't want to get close. Just the fear of being dependent on someone else. All this, she never said to Andrew. And he never asked. A wall of silence, both of them are building. But they all think that only their own lonely. Sang and I didn't ask any more questions, but patted her on the shoulder. "Go and rest. When you are all calmed down, speak slowly." Carla nodded. But when she turned to the guest room, there was a faint swelling in her chest. It's not guilt, it's not regret. It was a premonition that she was losing something, but she still couldn't grasp it. She did not know when the rift appeared. I don't know if it can be made up. But she knew one thing, tomorrow will be no easier than today.